Welcome back to some more Umineko when they cry. So, from where we last left off, unfortunately, I ended it briefly around a 40-minute session when Beatrice, the painting of her, got introduced. But there were apparently there were some conflictions when it comes to canon and the relatives. Also, Shannon, you know, a battler, has some sort of interest in her of the sort. And all this funny stuff going on from there. No need to be further into that explanation, to be quite honest. Anyway, let's continue reading. I'm actually really curious what happens with the painting. Then, once the sun went down, the forest would be wrapped in complete darkness, since there were no streetlights. And since there were no signs, it'd be easy to get lost and confused, losing your sense of direction inside that dark forest. Nowadays, most people see a forest as a peaceful place, but to the people of bygone eras, before the light of civilization drove out the night, forests were as geographically separated from civilization as the sea. They were oceans above the ground. Fishermen who go out into the ocean are putting their lives at risk, despite their technical knowledge. In the same way, hunters who go out to the forest are endangered despite having specialized knowledge of their own. If children were to go play in such a dangerous forest, something terrible might happen. Someone's parents might have thought so. Maybe grandmother first said it, or maybe it was grandfather himself. Well, who knows? Or perhaps the story's been passed down on this island since ancient times. Ooh, a rumor. Apparently. Ancient times. There's a terrible witch in the forest, so you must not go in. At some point, this ghost story of Rokenjima was born. This is the legend of Rokenjima's witch. That's why, when we talk about a witch on this island, we're referring to the master of that vast and savage forest. Come to think of it, when I stayed at this mansion as a little kid, during those airy nights when the wind and rain pounded on the windows, I remember being terrified by a story of the forest witch who roamed around searching for human sacrifices. So, Beatrice, huh? When Aniki mentioned it, I searched my memory and was sure I recalled hearing a name like that when I was little. Maybe Battler remembers some within his vague memory when I was little.
なるほどな。
He's like, Naruhodo.
しかし、あの魔女伝説の魔女に、ベアトリーチェなんておしゃれな名前がついてたとは、とんと忘れてたぜ。
You know, not only Beatrice is an elegant name, I'm pretty sure most people I know like this character the most. Like that character the most.
じいさまめ。孫たちが信じないもんだから、わざわざ絵に描きやがったか
Isn't there like I'm pretty sure there's people out there that like any other characters besides Beatrice, like Jessica, for example, or some certain people. I don't know. I guess Eva is one of the few, and Rosa. Actually, there is a bit of a issue I have with Rosa, and then I'll probably maybe who knows. I didn't get spoiled, so don't call me out on that. I'm just being a fucking retard. Just because we grandchildren didn't believe the story.
じいさまの妄想の中の魔女だよ。
His delusions.
この絵を掲げた頃から、現実と幻想の区別がつかなくなり始めた。
Telling the difference between truth and fantasy. What is is the hard time telling what is he a schizophrenic? Has he been like that?
私たちにとっては想像の中の魔女に過ぎないけど、 自由様にとっては、彼女はこの島にいる存在。
Surely I can just mock the Kinzo, right? He's a schizophrenic
いる。
on this island. He exists.
だから、それを理解することができない私たちにもわかるよう、あの絵を描かせたって言うんだけど。気持ち悪いったらありゃしないぜ。
The whole thing's creepy as hell. You don't say.
お嬢様、親方様にとっては大切な肖像画です。
This portrait is precious to the master.
親方様の前でそのようにおっしゃられることがございませんよう、固くお願い申し上げます。
What do you mean don't say anything? It's not like he's around.
わかってるぜ。頼まれても言わねえよ。
Yeah, but I'll never do something like that. Yeah, you can be an interesting shit talker at times. Jessica glanced at the portrait with an irritated gaze before turning away.
行こうよ。食堂にみんなを待たせてるよ。
Look at George's serious look on his face. It's like, dude, get your ass in the dining room right now.
お腹すいた。
But I'm not hungry. Only a small portion of this island was controlled by the Ushiromiya family. All of the lawless remainder was the domain of the witch Beatrice. You might even call her the true ruler of Rokenjima. The true ruler? What is she, a fucking queen? I felt a faint revival of that unsettling sense of misfortune, which I'd felt when I learned that the tutelary god's shrine being struck by lightning. And I remembered that Kumasawa-san tried to tell an ominous story about Rokenjima before Jessica stopped her. I don't know what she was planning to tell us about this island, but I do know one thing. It isn't the Ushiromiya family that rules Rokenjima. It's the witch, Beatrice. That's right. After all, this is the witch's island. Okay, then why the fuck would you... What, is because Beatrice is part of secretly part of the family, or what? Is it just some kind of god to worship to? Or I'm sorry, goddess. This is the witch's island.
バトラー。遅い。
Even Maria's like, Battler, get your ass in the dining room. When I looked around, everyone was already heading towards the dining room. I hurriedly chased after them. Oh, great. What's going on now in the dining room? We walked up to the huge double doors that led to the dining room. Genji-san knocked.
お子様方をお連れいたしました。失礼いたします。
Oh boy, this is going to be a fun talk at the dinner party. The doors were opened, and we were invited inside. Opening door sequence. Just like I always see whenever I start the game. The dining room, which looked exactly like you'd imagine a rich person's dining room to be, had a super long table that was obviously positioned with no purpose other than to make the guests conscious of their rank. Our parents were already sitting in accordance with that ordering.
遅えぞガキども。早く席につけよ。
I'm working on it. It's not my fault I'm curious about the fucking painting that was in the hallway. The old bastard pressed us to sit. The only gaps in that group of people were the spots we were supposed to sit, which only made us feel our tardiness all the more. The seat at the head of the table, called the incipient's chair, whatever the fuck you pronounce it, was for the most highly ranked, reserved for grandfather. It was still empty. He probably wanted to show up last for dramatic effect. Ooh. Just like in every fucking TV series and movies. Oh man. Don't you love it when they make it last? From the perspective of someone facing the incipient's chair head on, the seating order went from left to right, with the lower ranking seats progressing in rows of two further away from it. Progressing. So the left-hand side of the first row, closest to the incipient's chair, was where Uncle Kraus should have sat, since he was the second highest in rank. It looked like he hadn't arrived yet, so that seat was empty. Across from his chair, on the right side of the first row, sat the eldest daughter of the family, Aunt Eva, who was the third highest in rank. The eldest daughter. The left-hand side of the second row was for the fourth highest in rank. There sat my damned dad, Rudolph, the third of the siblings. Across from him, on the right side of the second row, sat Aunt Rosa, the youngest sibling. At this point, you might expect their husbands and wives to come next. But nope, the left-hand seat in the third row, rank number 6, belonged to Jessica. Opposite her was George Aniki. I sat next to Jessica, and Maria sat across from me. Then finally, next to me on the left-hand side of the fifth row, sat Aunt Natsuki, the 10th highest in rank. Opposite her was Uncle Hideyoshi. Next to Aunt Natsuki in the 6th row and the final seat on the left-hand side sat Kairi-san. The seat opposite to Kairi-san was empty, even though silverware had been set there and everything. Well, who the fuck is going to sit there then? According to this ranking system, that spot was where Aunt Rosa's husband should be sitting. Well, where the hell is her husband at? Even though he wasn't supposed to be coming, his place was made up. What the fuck's the point then? I don't know. I don't know shit about hierarchy in the family. Oh man. And then again, I'm not born rich, so normally ranking systems of this sort give spouses equal positions as their partners, but the Ushiromiya family system was unique. Oh, you don't say. Maybe it's a remnant of male chauvinism. If you start with the assumption that a woman's womb is just something to be borrowed, then the children of the direct descent would come first, directly followed by the grandchildren. In other words, spouses have no blood ties and are therefore placed at the end of the line. Well then. It's terrible, but by this system my grandmother would be ranked even lower than me, if she were still alive. Pff, ouch. In their youth, they obeyed their father after they get married, their husband after aging their children. There's the old saying, women have no home in any realm. Long ago, when I was still incapable of figuring all this out, I thought it was so great that we could all chat in our little groups, adult siblings with adult siblings and cousins with cousins. However, now that I can re-examine the seating order after growing up a bit, it stirs up some very complicated feelings in me. Aunt Natsuki, who was married to the eldest son and was the de facto number 2 in managing this family, sat to my right, which meant that she was 2 steps lower than me in the ranking order. Wow. Fucking Natsuki. No wonder almost everyone hated her ass. In the ranking order. It was hard to imagine what might be going on inside her heart. That's why I made a small apologetic gesture towards her before sitting down.
お久しぶりですね、バトラ君。
Yeah, nice to see you too.
ずいぶん背が伸びましたね。
That's what everyone would say.
ああ、はい。食ったり食べたり食事したりしてたら、 いつの間にかこんな身長に。
さすが男の子ね。身長はいくつくらいあるの？
Oh, gee, I wonder how tall I am. I don't know. I'm almost 6 foot tall, you know?
180かな。
Yeah, exactly.
つうかおばさん、そこは食べてばっかりじゃねえかって突っ込んでくださいよ。
But Natsuki, that's where you're supposed to say that. Sounds like all you did was eat. Oh, man.
え
She's like, what?
ああごめんなさいね。
Oh, I guess she kind of was like, oh, I guess I was supposed to make that joke. After a short pause, she did laugh with me, but it seemed she couldn't quite figure out what she was supposed to be laughing at. This woman is Aunt Natsuki. Oh, I guess Natsuki was supposed to be introduced if Badler is around. She's the wife of the eldest son of the family, meaning she's my father's older brother's wife. Father's older brother's wife. Oh my. Let's see. So there's Jessica, and Natsuki is Jessica's mother. Ushiromiya Natsuki, Krause's wife, manages the household of the Ushiromiya head family in place of her husband, who takes little interest. For this family conference, again, she was the one who took charge of making all the preparations and arrangements. Possesses a strong sense of responsibility and a great deal of pride. However, neither her husband nor his siblings understand her very well, so her position is far from inviolable. Well, well then, that's unfortunate for her because most characters I've seen just don't like her as much. Older brother's wife. Is it simpler if I just call her Jessica's mother? I mean, according to that, yeah. It feels bad to say it like this, but while I didn't exactly dislike her, I didn't particularly like her either. Well, why do you say that, though? I mean, I guess she's just bitter and cold, considering like she's supposed to be the one in charge, but she hardly ever spoke with us kids, and all my memories of her involve her talking to the adults about complicated things, with a scary look on her face. It's like she's hiding things from us. It's like she just bottle things up. It's like hey, do you want to spend time talking with us? And so she's like, fuck that. I'm just gonna go and talk with your relatives. And the kids are like, well, what the fuck? In fact, since we hardly ever exchanged words, I spent a long time trying to figure out how I should approach her. Though my efforts seem to have ended in failure. Yeah, when Battler tries to crack a joke about, oh, I surely you've been all you do is eat, and then Natsuki was like, well, what? I was like, what? Oh man, though my efforts seem to have ended in failure. The silverware sat neatly on the table, but the meal itself hadn't been brought in yet. As a general rule, you couldn't start a meal until the person sitting at the head of the table arrived. So, as long as grandfather didn't come, lunch would be put on hold indefinitely. But what if I be bored as hell? Then what should I do? Not even the appetizers would arrive. Simply put, the silence in this room was caused by our parents enduring their hunger while they waited for grandfather to arrive. However, the grandfather from my memories would always show up on time to meals like this. Yeah, gee, I wonder what happened to him. It's like, shouldn't one of the servants get him? He was the kind of person who would never be so late that it kept everyone waiting, especially after the entire group had arrived.
お 遅えな、じいさま。俺の記憶じゃ、時間に厳格な人だったと思うんだけどな。
Yeah, well, if he's strict on time, then why isn't one of the servants go up and get him then?
まあ、6年前はそうだったかもな。最近はそうでもねえよ。というか、もう自分の世界オンリーって感じで、会食にも顔を出さねえぜ。
She's like, yeah, he's in his own fantasy land.
さすがに今日くらいは足並みを揃えてくれるって思ってたんだけどな。まあ、私は来ない方が気楽で嬉しいけどよ。
There you go again, shit talking.
ジェシカ。
When her mother scolded her, Jessica stuck her tongue out and looked away. No way around it. Might as well wait until our host arrives. When I glanced at the clock, I saw that it was almost 12:20. Yes. Is it? Yep, October 4th, 1986, on Saturday, 12. Ushiromiya Kinzo, the aged family head of the Ushiromiya head family. This man could be seen in his study. The clock had already passed noon, but he didn't even attempt to rise from his seat. With his spectacles on, he built up a growing pile of books with elaborate bindings, which he then read intently. You know, that's the thing that I would notice from Jessica. She acts like a fucking rebel, and then Natsuki was just like, can't even put. Natsuki tried to put up with her shit, but she can't, apparently. Anyway, Ushiromiya Kinzo, the aged head of the Ushiromiya family, brimming with energy despite being pronounced to have only a short time left to live, amassed a vast fortune, but has never made any announcement about his inheritance, which worries his children. Strongly influenced by the West and a rabid fan of the occult, his study is packed with mysterious grimoires. Now what could he been doing, I wonder? Reaching read intently. You couldn't really say that he was having too much fun to stop. Rather, he filled the room with a sense of impatience, or perhaps a sense of impending danger, as though every second wasted was a tragedy. That looks like a little liquor cabinet on the upper left, and then on his right is the painting of Beatrice. Interesting. Every second wasted as was a tragedy. In this sealed room, a dense dust danced through the air, which was thick with the stench of chemicals that exuded a mix of suspicious odors. Those odors were somehow sweet and heavy. If anyone with a normal nose came in here, the first thing they'd do would be to open a window and ventilate this room.
お父さん、お父さん。
The knocking against the study door had been going on for a while. A voice calling "Father" sometimes mingled with the knocks. As Kinzo heaved a deep sigh, he snapped shut the old book in his hands and slammed it on the table. Then he yelled at Kraus, who was still knocking on the door.
やかましい。その音を止めぬか愚か者。叩けば扉は開かれると誰が教えた。そのバカ者は貼り付けにしたぞ。お前もそうされたいのか。
But it's meal time. You can't be late at a time like this. You can't tell me to shut the fuck up.
お父さん。年に一度の親族会議の日ではありませんか。
Yeah, it's the day of the family conference.
皆下に集まっています。
どうかおいでください。
Like, come on, man. It's a family conference. Aren't you supposed to go? That happens once a year. Kraus called out to his father through the door. Kinzo always shut himself up in the study, hating it when nearly anyone, even his family, entered the room. For that reason, Kraus had no choice but to call to him from the corridor like this.
私にかがうでない。
Molest me not? What the fuck? Am I on this familiar language? What the fuck?
皆とは何か私をここから引きずり出そうとする者どもなのか。ならば殺してしまい。バラバラにして薪にして魔女の炉にくべてしまい。その炉には鍋をかけて苦いおもぎを煮るがいい。
Holy shit.
黙示録の煮汁はそれでも私をここから連れ出そうとするバカ者どもに飲ませてやれ。
This motherfucker's talking like a fucking villain. Okay. He's talking like he's fucking possessed. Drink the broth of the apocalypse.
残りは酒につけるのだ。ああ、源氏はどこだ。源氏を呼べ。苦害の魔酒を用意させろ。緑の妖精のささやきが届かぬ。
The whispering of the green fairy.
ああ、源氏はどこだ。源氏を呼べ。
Dokoda. On the other side of the door, Kraus, Nanjo, and Genji kept waiting for the master of the house, who stubbornly refused to come out.
すっかり嫌われてしまったようだ。もう私の声では何も届かんよ。
Kraus shrugged as though saying it's no use and smiled bitterly. From the beginning, he hadn't really expected his father to respond to his calls. However, since it was the duty of the eldest son, he had tried as a formality.
金蔵さん、あんたの顔を見に息子や娘や孫たちが来てるんじゃないか。
Yeah, we've been waiting for you.
ちょっと顔を見せてやったらどうだね。
Yeah, all you have to do is take just 1 second to just be seen, and that's it. You don't have to fucking stay around all day.
うるさい、黙れ。
But nope, Kinzo was like, fuck you.
私に意見するというか何条。 貴様など呼んではおらぬ。私は源氏を呼べと言ったのだ。
Yeah, but I'm sure Genji will be the same thing and just tells you to get your ass in the dining room.
さあ急げ、すぐに呼べ。時間は常に有限だ。人たちはすでにラッパを構えているぞ。なぜにそれがわからぬか、愚かな羊どもめ。
Damn. He even tells people they're full of sheep. Kinzo slammed an old heavy book against the table over and over. That racket clearly expressed his great displeasure. Kinzo put his spectacles down and flew up from his chair. He spread his arms wide open as if to sing a packed opera house, as if appealing to someone, and yelled.
なぜだ。なぜにいつも私には邪魔が入るのか。すべてを捨てよう、すべてを捧げよう。その見返りに私は一つしか求めないというのに。ああ、ベ アトリーチェ、お前の微笑みをもう一度見られるならば、私は世界中から美少を奪い取り、全てをお前に捧げよう。おお、イナゴの軍団長たちよ、世界中から美少を刈り取り収穫せ。
Yeah, you're definitely a bit of a nutcase.
ああ、全てが汚らわしい。全てが煩わしい。なぜこの貴重な一日に私は邪魔を受けねばならぬのか。
Damn. Talk about some details of Kinzo crying.
源氏を呼べ。
何を怒鳴ってるのかもさっぱりだな。もう頭がどうにかなっているのだろう。
Well, no shit. Well, he has like few months. He has like some time to live. So, what?
クラウスさん、実のお父さんにそりゃあんまりじゃないかね。
親父はすでに死んでいる。ここにいるのは親父だったものの幻さ。いずれにせよ本人にここを出る意志がない以上どうにもならんね。
金蔵さん。
Choking coughs continued to pour from the study.
私は下に戻る。ゴーダの自慢のランチをこれ以上無駄に冷ましてしまうことはない。親類たちにとって当家での数少ない楽しみだろうからな。
Kraus spun around. He looked at his watch, mumbling and acting as though he had wasted time doing something he knew would be in vain.
源氏さん、親父殿がお呼びだ。相手を頼む。
かしこまりました。
南條先生、食事に行きましょう。いつまでもここにいるとこの甘い匂いで味覚までおかしくなってしまう。
Without waiting for Nanjo, Kraus went downstairs. Genji urged Nanjo to go and eat. Nanjo glanced between the study door and Kraus's back as the latter disappeared down the stairs, then let out a deep sigh.
すまんが源氏さん、頼みます。
Man, even the family doctor is like, shit, what should I do?
はい、お任せください。
And Genji got this.
お酒はなるべく与えないように。あれは常習性が強すぎる。
If only you guys would have just locked the goddamn alcohol cabinet. And then again, I'm pretty sure Kinzo would find a way to break it open.
源氏はまだか。何者が源氏を阻んでいるというのか。源氏はどこだ。源氏を呼べ。
さあ、ここはお任せください。 すみませんな。
Nanjo bowed slightly and descended the stairs. Genji watched him leave, then knocked on the study door.
親方様、源氏でございます。
源氏か。
Oh boy.
何故私をこれほどに待たすのか。そこには誰もおるまいな。
はい。私だけでございます。
Kinzo returned to his seat in the study and pressed an old-fashioned switch on the table. After a small delay, the heavy sound of the door unlocking could be heard. Kinzo was convinced that his family wanted to make a mess of his study. Or perhaps someone had once opened the window for some air and ended up scattering things that, to him, were important research materials, leaving him in a terrible mood. Kinzo had outfitted his room with a formidable lock, preventing anyone from entering without his permission, and thereby sealing himself in a jail of his own making. Genji, whom he trusted the most, was relatively free to enter the room, but even that didn't always hold. If Kinzo was in a bad mood, even Genji wouldn't be able to enter. Anyone else would be limited to holding a conversation through the door, unable even to see Kinzo's face. And most of the time, what they got could hardly be called a conversation. However, this didn't trouble the rest of the family much. After all, it just wasn't worth the effort to disturb this aging family head, who was impossible to please and always stayed shut away, immersed in his research. Taking advantage of his refusal to leave his room, they supported his isolation, putting his care entirely into the hands of the servants.
源氏、いつものやつを頼む。私は忙しい。
はい。
Genji headed to a corner of the study. There, suspicious-looking bottles boasting venomous colors were on display. They were actually liquor, but considering the shady atmosphere of this room, one might easily suspect them of being some ghastly poison. Inside the study, the mysterious collection of books gathered by Kinzo had grown into a mountain. They were bizarre ancient or banned books, all of them either forbidden, cursed, or sealed. But if you tried to call them old books, Kinzo would fly into a rage and say, "Call them grimoires!" There were also many mysterious objects that presumably held some meaning with regards to black magic, like candles suspiciously melted and molded into strange shapes. The constellations drawn on a certain celestial globe contained quite a few shapes that would draw puzzled looks from anyone familiar with today's night sky. The carelessly strewn about books contained many illustrations, all of them of a religious or mysterious nature, including some depicting demonically grotesque subjects or bizarre diagrams of various magic circles. God damn. Kinzo is into some cult shit going on. Various magic circles. And above all, a sweet, poisonous smell filled the room, profoundly assaulting the eyes and noses of those who entered for the first time. Eventually, it must surely make a person go numb and lose their grip on reality. Inside that study, Genji prepared Kinzo's usual drink with a well-trained hand. No one would even think of drinking such an ominous dark green liquid in that complex and ordinate glass, unless someone first told them it was alcohol. He poured a little into the glass. Then he placed a cube of sugar in a strangely shaped spoon and poured water from a pitcher over it. Strangely, when the transparent water was poured, the dark green liquid turned a cloudy white. It was a strange optical illusion, as though the water had caused a chemical reaction and made the drink become even more unrecognizable as liquor. Then Kenji added original flavors Kinzo loved, fine-tuning its taste. There was no recipe. Its success was measured only by Kinzo's mood swings when he drank it, and it had taken Genji many decades to learn how to do it right. Genji placed the glass on the tray and walked over to Kinzo. By this time, Kinzo was gazing out the window.
どうぞ、親方様。
ああ、すまん。
Kinzo had regained his composure and was now unrecognizable as the shouting, screaming, yelling man from a few moments ago. Looking at this man from behind as he tilted his glass and gazed down at the scenery beyond the window, he projected a sense of dignity and intelligence. To allow Kinzo to set his glass down at any time, Genji motionlessly waited behind Kinzo and to his left, as though he were a living sideboard. Then, without averting his eyes from the window, Kinzo held out his glass. There was only a mouthful remaining. It was not a gesture intended to set it upon the tray, but a motion to hand the glass over to Genji.
飲め。我が友よ。
もったいないお言葉です。
私とお前の中に儀礼はいらぬ。飲め。
Amusing that Kinzo pressed a button to reveal like some sort of secret stash or something like that.
友よ。
いただきます。
Genji respectfully received the glass and inclined it a little to taste its contents. After that, he gulped it down.
お前が作るのを真似ているのだがどうにも同じ味が出ぬ。お前が作る方がうまい。
ありがとうございます。親方様のご指導の賜物です。
Kinzo smiled at his loyal subject, who refused to put aside rank, even when asked to. However, he was not making fun of him. His smile was relaxed, as though chuckling at a close friend's old unshakable habit.
互いに老いたな。年を数えることも忘れてすでに久しい。
今日まで過ごすことをお許しいただけたのも、すべて親方様のおかげでございます。
Kinzo gave a faint smile, as if to say he didn't need any flattery.
今日まで本当によく私に仕えてくれた。息子たちは誰もが私を変人呼ばわりした。
Eccentric?
大勢いた使用人も皆私を恐れてやめていった。
I'm pretty sure the former servants looked at you as crazy or some shit like that.
お前だけが今でも私に仕えてくれる。
もったいないお言葉です。
私の余命もそう長くはあるまい。息子たちは私の遺産がいつ転がり込んでくるかをうろうろ待つハゲタカばかりだ。
Genji has no words.
クラウスの愚か者は金を湯水のように使い、1枚の金貨を売るのに2枚の金貨を捨てておる。
Well, from the look on Krause's face, like maybe he'll be a hateable character to me.
それで金を稼げたなどと妄言を。エヴァは金の亡者だ。あやつは私を鶏か何かだと思っておる。
Thinks of you as a mere chicken.
死んだらガラにして出汁まで取る気だ。
She's gonna dance on your grave. Use his bones to make a broth. She's gonna eat you. Oh shit.
ルドルフの間抜けは女遊びばかり。
He wants to fool around with woman? Rudolph the Womanizer.
ローザはどこの馬の骨ともわからん男の赤ん坊など産みおって、ジェシカは無能で無学だ。
Jessica's incompetent and uneducated. And she's also a rebel.
ジョージには男としての器がない。 バトラーは後ろ宮家の栄誉を自ら捨ておった愚か者だ。 マリアなど見るのも汚らわしい。 なぜだ、なぜに後ろ宮の血はこうも無能なのか。
Man, everything is not going so well with him, apparently.
私の築き上げた栄光を受け継ぐにふさわしい者はおらんのか。 ああ、分かっておるとも。これがベアトリーチェの呪いであることも分かっておる。
The part of her curse.
黄金の魔女め、それが私への復讐のつもりか。
Whoa, shit.
憎みたくば憎むがよい。逃げたければ逃げるがよい。逃がさぬ、逃がさぬ、逃がさぬ、逃がさぬわ。
I won't let you go, I won't let you go, won't let you go, won't let you go.
お前は私のものだ。常に私の腕の中でなくてはならん。私の生涯のすべてなのだ。我が鳥かごにて永遠に私だけにささやき続けるのだ。ベアトリーチェ、なぜに微笑み返してはくれぬ。
Oh.
ベアトリーチェ。
After howling, Kinzo choked once again. Genji set the tray and glass down and rubbed his master's back. Genji's facial expression did not change. It was always like this.
すまぬ我が友よ。
No words. When his seemingly deranged fit subsided, Kinzo regained his composure once again. It was like seeing two different people, a wild Kinzo and a composed Kinzo. A wild one and a composed one, living together inside one body.
ゆえに 私は決心した。このままぼやききった余生を怠慢に過ごすことなどもはや耐えられはせん。この身に最後にとするコインがあるならば、それを悪魔たちのルーレットに託してみたい。魔法の力はいつもかけるリスクで決まる。日本古来の呪術である牛の国参りがそうであろう。7日間儀式を目撃されてはならないというリスクを支払うからこそ魔力が宿る。困難なリスクが生じれば生じるほどに魔力は強く生じるのだ。神話に登場する数々の奇跡は天文学的リスクに奇跡的な低確率を得て成就した驚愕すべき魔力の結晶なのだと言える。モーゼが海を割ったのは神の奇跡ではない。蹂躙の計りに乗せられ軍勢によって航海に追い詰められた絶体絶命のリスクが奇跡の魔力を生んだのだ。同じことが同じ規模で繰り返されようとも再び海が割れることはないだろう。なぜならモーゼは力ある者たちのルーレットの阿葬儀ナユタをかけたよりも多く存在する目の中に一つだけ刻まれた奇跡を見事引き寄せることができたからだ。その天文学的確率に勝利できる力、そう、奇跡をつかみ取る運気はすなわち魔力なのだ。強大な魔力を得るためには絶望的なリスクを背負わねばならぬ。
To obtain this mighty power, you must face the risk of despair.
魔力もたぬ者はそれを賭けでなく自暴自棄と呼ぼう。
True.
しかし真に魔力ある者はその奇跡をつかみ取り神秘を成就させるのだ。もしも私にその魔力があるならば、私はその奇跡をつかみ取るだろう。生涯を費やした願いを実現できるだろう。
All right. I think this is a good place to stop from here. But yeah. This is another wild ride right there. So next part. Let's see what happens next with Kinzo, considering that he has his desperation for Beatrice. And maybe after that, you can see what's going on within the family down at the dining room. So, like, comment, subscribe. I will catch you all later on the next part. Have a good one.